here in qualifying 2 after another little bit of technical issues. I myself, Fallen Monkeys, have taken over the live stream duties for the time being here as we are approaching the end of qualifying 2. Up until so long as Ix can get the internet connection issues sorted out from his end, and we can get things back up and running the way we normally would here. But I'm more than happy to keep everybody company in the meantime and throughout the race, as I'm keeping an eye out on VR46 Yarno coming around the final corner as he's going to cross the line, looking to improve on the outside looking in. Does improve up into P8 with a 141.7, so a decent time from the Ferrari driver. Not necessarily in a comfortable position, I wouldn't think, as we still have 2 drivers, one of which on a flying lap, one on an out lap, have yet to set times, and some other very fast drivers, the likes of AJ and Do Will, who might want to end up trying to set one more time, but actually AJ won't be able to get a time set, so he's retiring out of qualifying 2. Ferg, he's on the outside looking in 11th, and he will not be making it through into the top 10 shootout himself either, as he retired a little bit early on, and just on that border on the outside looking in, as mentioned before. But we are down to the nitty-gritty of qualifying 2, down to the last 30 seconds, as I'm watching Sofian looking to get that lap time together when it matters most. Doesn't have a lap time on the board for the AlphaTauri team, but really going to have to string that lap together here if he wants any chance to making it through into the top 10 shootout of qualifying 3. Coming around Puan here, approaching the end of Sector 2, and we'll see how the sector time is going to look. Will it be purple? Will it be a quick sector? I think it's going to be a little bit slower than the sector time we saw from your own Vasseur earlier on in this session. So I don't think it's going to be challenging for the quickest lap time, but hopefully can be quick enough to make it through into the top 10 shootout. But as he's got 2 corners to go, approaching the bus stop chicane, takes it fairly nicely, but actually invalidates, cuts a little bit too much of that final corner, so a costly mistake means he will not have a lap time set and will be starting in P15. So here comes Feral Fury. He and Do Will, probably the last 2 drivers really to keep an eye out for, as they are on the outside looking in here at the end of this qualifying session. Feral Fury will be the first of the 2 to cross the line. He did have his teammate for support here around this lap, and we'll see, will it be enough to put him through? Yes, it does. Brings him up into 7th position, so he'll be making it through into qualifying 3. Now, here comes Do Will. Will he improve? Will he make it through into the top 10 shootout? Crosses the line, and that's a P5 for Do Will. So he should be comfortable, but now here comes Nathan, JB, and VMark, both looking to end their lap, and they got demoted outside of the top 10. So really going to have to string that lap together. Is Nathan going to be able to make it through? Crosses the line. No, he doesn't. I think he might have run out of fuel or comfortable with where he is in 11th. But there goes VMark in the Renault. I didn't see where he ended up. And yes, he does make it through into the top 10, albeit only just coming in 10th position after that final lap. So here we go. We are moving on into qualifying 3 in just a few moments, which will feature your own Vasseur in the Haas, Josh 2 in the Williams, Vapor Rotation in the Alfa Romeo, Sweet Crown 19 in the Williams, Do Will in the Red Bull, Jamie 1 in the Mercedes, Passassin in the McLaren, Feral Fury in the other Haas car, Andon in the Racing Point, and VMark in the Renault to round out the top 10. VR46 Yarno just got knocked out at the last possible moment in 11th, Nathan JB in 12th, Ferg 13th, AJ Wuhan in 14th, and Sofian, after the costly mistake on his final lap, does not have a time on the board and has qualified in 15th and will be starting his race in 15th. But here we go. It is time for qualifying 3. It is time for the top 10 shootout, 12 minutes of non-stop qualifying action, and we have sunny skies here to kick off this qualifying 3, and it'll be the battle. Who will take pole position? We will find out in just under 12 minutes time. So we're just waiting for drivers to take to the track, kick things off. Looks to be a familiar face who's going to be leading the way. It's going to be Rotation, the first driver out on track, I believe. Actually, no, now that I'm looking at that, it's going to be Sweet Crown 19 who's going to be leading the way on the outlap. On the soft tires, of course. The tires here don't matter. The wear doesn't matter. It's all up to the drivers, all up to set the fastest time. So you're going to be pushing these tires to the limits, pushing these cars to the limits, pushing this track, to the limits, and it's going to make things extremely exciting to watch here as this plays out. But here we go. It is qualifying 3, Sweet Crown 19, slowing down on his outlap, taking his sweet time to get those tires where he needs to be. Let a few drivers go ahead, get a baseline of what he can expect the lap times to be. Rotation invalidating that outlap, but no worries on that, as we do have half of the grid out on track right now, and the other half probably going to be following suit very shortly here, I would think. And as coming around sector 2, near the end of sector 3, we'll give a little bit of an onboard for Rotation as he's going to take us through sector 3, and then of course the flying lap around Spa for qualifying 3. As mentioned, the track is going to be at its quickest, the drivers are going to be at its quickest, the tire wear doesn't matter here. All that matters is that time you put on the board. Now, of course, just a little talking point for qualifying 3 and leading into the race. When you're pushing these track limits the way you do, you risk invalidating the likes of which we saw Rotation do on the outlap. So it does make things very, very interesting. Of course, in qualifying, if you invalidate, that's the end of your lap. It won't count for anything, regardless of how quick it is. So it's basically a wasted lap, wasted tires. But of course, in the race, that can affect your race outcome very much so, especially in a track like this one, where you can expect the unexpected. Safety cars can creep out, and when you're least expecting it, and if you do end up bunched up on the grid, those penalties can really bite you in the butt if you're not careful. But Rotation, as he's taking his flying lap, has a little bit of a moment there, going through, and you can see going very slow now, abandons that first lap. So let's switch over right at this time to Josh 2, who's going to be the new leader of the pack for these first set of flying laps, as he's coming through the no-name corner, approaching Puan, the swooping left-hander. You want to get close to the inside curb there, but you want to watch out and make sure not to tap it, because that can send your car flying. We saw that, in Division 2 as well as Division 3, and I think we might be seeing that here in Division 1 if drivers aren't too careful. But of course, through that same corner, you got to watch out on the outside, because you can also invalidate if you're going a little bit too wide or take a penalty there. But Josh 2 handles it with ease through the end now of Sector 3, approaching the bus stop chicane, the final 2 corners. Maybe could cut that first one a little bit more, but takes the second one nice enough, keeps it clean across the line, and it's going to be a 141.475, very swiftly beaten by Passassin, who sits a 141.422. So the times are starting to fall here. What's Feral Fury going to do? It's a 141.9 for the Haas driver, but a very quick Sector 3. Sweet Crown 19 setting a 141.370, so he goes fastest in this qualifying 3 sessions so far, as Andin goes third fastest with a 141.445. So lots of times floating right around the 141.4s. So initially the time to beat, but Sweet Crown 19 with his 141.3 is the fastest time for the first wave of drivers. Jamie 1 did invalidate his flying lap, so he will not be able to set a time, as he did extend those track limits a little bit much. So most likely going to be taking a pit stop and getting those tires switched. Your own Vasseur, equally, he invalidated this time around. So after setting a blistering qualifying 2 lap, doesn't have much to show for it so far in qualifying 3, as he's most likely going to be putting on a fresh set of tires and going out for his second lap a little bit later. Let's switch over to the Red Bull. It's Du Will coming through nearing the end of Sector 2. He's on a decent lap. Let's pull up some of this information here that keeps getting removed from me. It's a 1:13.9 as the Sector 2 time. Definitely not the fastest Sector 2 time we've seen, as I think we've seen sometimes a second slower than that at the extreme. But we'll have to take a look and see. Maybe some time can be found through into Sector 3. Coming around the last bus stop chicane, the final chicane here of the Spa circuit, crosses the line, and it's only 6th fastest for Du Will. It's a 1:42.1, so gonna have to find a lot more time if he wants to bring that car up the order more than what he already has. Here comes VMark. What's he going to do? Up into 7th, it's a 1:42.5, so VMark and the Renault might need to try to find a little bit more time here in these later stages. But crucially, he's out on the medium tires, getting that first lap set. So a bit of a definition of a banker lap here for the Renault driver, as that 1:42.2. Expect that to start falling much more as he does put on a set of soft tires before this qualifying is over. But we've basically had the first round of laps being set or invalidated, but we have Rotation, who's going to be leading the way to start his second and probably his last flying lap of the session. Did take an invalidation the first time around, as you saw, did abandon the lap. So gonna be out a little bit early, taking that very wide line on the bus stop on his out lap, so he can carry as much speed as possible to start the flying lap. And we'll see what Rotation can do. We know he's got pace, and we'll see, can he set a time quicker than the current pole sitting time, which is the 1:41.3, set by none other than the 3-time world champion of Sweet Crown 19. Coming down the Kemmel Straight, opening up his DRS flap there, as you can see, carrying a lot of speed into this next corner section here. Now, let's see, did he iron out? It looks as though he did iron out the mistakes that he set previously and goes fastest in the first sector. There was a purple sector there, so it looks to be a very quick time for the Alfa Romeo driver, but Sector 2 is a completely different story, a little bit more technical. You might want to rely on a little bit more downforce, albeit most drivers are probably running somewhere around a 2.6 wing for the front and the back, or that's the consensus that I am hearing, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. Approaching the end of Sector 2, what is the sector time going to look like? It is a purple Sector 2, a near 1:13 flat for the Sector 2 time, so this is definitely going to be a lap to remember. So as long as it stays clean, only has a few more corners to go around Blanchemont, and approaching the final chicane here. Can he handle the chicane? Can he get the lap to stick? No, yes he does so far. What's it going to be as he crosses the line? It is going to be fastest. It's a 1:41.016 for Rotation for his second lap, so very happy with that, as he goes 0.3 faster than Sweet Crown 19, who's still in the pits, but probably going to be coming out on his flying lap sooner rather than later. Josh, too, he's starting a flying lap himself, so we'll stick with them and see what kind of time the Williams driver can set, trying to make use of the slower car coming out of the pits, or getting out of the way of I believe that might have been your own Vasseur there, who was getting out of the way. Has his teammate for support of Sweet Crown 19, as they're giving themselves a little bit of a tow. Sweet Crown 19 not taking that lap. He's opted to help out his teammate as he's on the flying lap. given that Sweet Crown is on an outlap now that I realize that. So the timing was perfect for the Williams, and crucial to their success that they were both able to make it through into qualifying 3. But now it's all up to Josh 2. Can he set the rest of the lap he needs to bring that car up into a potential provisional pole, or improve on that time he has currently? That was the Alfa Romeo of rotation parked on the circuit, allowing these drivers who are doing their outlaps to go through. Here comes Josh 2 at the end of Sector 2. Sets a 1:12.997, so it's ever so slightly faster than the Sector 2 time from rotation. But here with a minute and a half to go in qualifying 3, what is the time going to be here for Josh 2? It's looking to be a pretty quick lap time, but this last chicane can make or break a lap, not in terms of track limits, but in terms of time lost as well on the exit. Looks as though he handles it well, crosses the line, just slower than the time set from rotation. It's a 1:41.100 for Josh 2, puts him up into second, quicker than his teammate Sweet Crown 19, who is just starting his flying lap, and crucially will have his teammate now to for support down the back straight. So a little bit of tit for tat for the Williams team, and you can see the pace that Sweet Crown 19 is closing up, and Josh 2 repaying the favor one lap later on his in-lap, should be getting out of the way any moment now. There we go, you see it slowing down, and that's a purple first sector for the 3-time world champion. So if he can keep that lap together, it's going to be a very fast lap, I would think, from the other Williams driver, maybe possibly pushing for that pole. Passassin, he set a 1:41.187, puts him up into third, and it looks as though he might be pushing for one more lap here, if I'm not mistaken. Takes a big lockup through the downhill left-hander right before the no-name corner, so that might lose him a little bit of time here as he's coming through Huon now, but he's still using that ERS to the max, so I think he is pushing for that one final lap time. But back to Sweet Crown 19, sets a 1:12.8 as the Sector 2 time, so looking to be on pace for a very, very fast time, looking to be on pace to beat the time set from rotation. But still with one sector to go, it's still anybody's to play for. Around the final 2 corners here, does a good job keeping it clean, keeping it valid, barreling to the line, and it is going to be fastest. It's the first time to break into the 140s, and it's a 140.816 for Sweet Crown 19 as he takes that provisional pole position for now. Your own Visser crosses the line up into 5th for the Haas driver. Feral Fury, he invalidated, so he's done with his qualifying. Here comes Andin, does improve by 6/100ths, but will not be gaining or losing a position. Now, let's see, Will, how is he going to set his final lap? Crosses the line, does go faster, but not fast enough to improve, as he will stay in 8th, and potentially risking to fall, as V-Mark is setting a much quicker time now that he's put on these soft tires. Last driver to get a time to on the board. Let's take a look across the line. That brings him up into 6th position. So it is going to be Sweet Crown 19 who's going to be starting the race on pole, with rotation in 2nd and Passassin rounding out the top 3. But my, oh my, that was a very exciting qualifying session, and we will be jumping into the race in just a few moments once we get the grid order finally set up, and it is going to be Sweet Crown 19 on pole, rotation lining up on the front row of the grid right alongside him, with Passassin in 3rd, Josh 2 in 4th, your own Visser in 5th, V-Mark in 6th, Feral Fury in 7th, Andin in 8th, Will in 9th, and Jamie 1 with no time on the board, rounding out the top 10. But there we have it. This is the end of qualifying, and we will be transitioning into the race. It'll be the Belgian Grand Prix. It is race time, 22 laps around Spa-Francorchamps, coming up in just a few moments. And thank you for watching ISRL Esports coverage of the Division 1 World Championship here at the Belgian Grand Prix. I hope you're enjoying the action so far as much as I am here in the commentator's booth. For those who are not aware by now, I am Fallen Monkeys. I'm your new host here in the commentator's booth, at least for this week, once again, as Ix is having some connection issues on his end. So to keep the stream up and running, to keep everybody at home in the loop, and to keep the entertainment for everybody who is wanting to watch here on stream, I have taken over stream duties for this week, but hopefully those connection issues can get resolved and we can get Ix back in the commentator's booth as we know and love and have gotten used to having here by next week. But here we go in just a moment. Once we get the cue to go, we will be getting the 22 laps around Spa-Francorchamps set up and just awaiting the cue. You're letting the drivers get that breather, get that strategy call sorted out, figure out what they want to do with the tires. Those in the bottom 10 can decide what they want to start on here as well. And here we go. Feral Fury giving us the cue. It's sunny skies to start off here, and we'll be jumping into the formation lap, followed by the race here in just a few moments. 15 seconds to go now. And looking at the chat, weather reports, we don't have it here. Nobody provided us the weather reports, so we are going in blind, but at least it's nice and sunny to start off the race here. And here we go. We're going to be kicking things off in just a few moments. And here we go, Sweet Crown 19 leading the way to start the formation lap here. As if I put on the tire choice, he will be starting on pole, leading the way on the softs. Rotation in second, Passassin in third, Josh 2 in fourth, your own Visser in fifth, V-Mark in sixth, Feral Fury starting in seventh, Andin starting in eighth, Do Will starting in ninth, Jamie 1 starting in 10th. All these drivers set their times on the soft tires, so we'll be starting on those tires. They set their qualifying 2 times on. Now, in 11th, best of the rest is VR46 Yarno, opting to start on the medium tires with that Ferrari car. Nathan JB in 12th. In the Racing Point, also putting on the medium tires. CRL Ferg in 13th, and he also opted to put on those medium tires. AJ Wuhan in the McLaren in 14th on the medium tires. So Fion, after that heartbreak of a final lap in qualifying 2, starting all the way back in 15th, and has opted to put on the soft tires to get this race started. Knight in 16th in the Red Bull on the medium tires. You can see those yellow wall tires there. Eklund in 17th on the soft tires. Carter in 18th on the soft tires as well, with Isaac Kush and Shapalelli starting on the last row of the grid in 19th and 20th, and they have both decided to start on the medium tires and go a little bit longer than the soft tire runners. So we have some different tire choices, some different strategies. The AWS Insight is showing us a one-stop soft to mediums or soft to hards, similarly to what we were discussing in the qualifying session when Ix was here earlier, that we might see some soft to hards, but maybe some drivers pushing these soft to mediums, and potentially even the mediums to softs. But all these questions and more will be answered in just a few moments, as Sweet Crown 19 leading the way, taking his position back on the grid. Will he have a Lewis Hamilton-esque race that we've come so used to seeing from the 3-time world champion? Will rotation make a push, riding the momentum he had from Baku, or will we see a surprise runner, maybe the likes of Isaac Kush, Shapalelli, working their way up from the back of the grid and pulling off a wicked strategy, wicked pit stop, some wicked overtakes, and end up where we're oh so used to seeing them. But here we go, the grid is lined up. We will find out in 22 laps once we get the 5 red lights. It is Here we go, up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And we're off to start the race, and it's a little bit of a timid start from Sweet Crown 19, it looks like, as they barrel across into turn 1, a sharp turn 1. It looks as though every driver is getting through cleanly, although some drivers, I think that was VMark going very wide on the exit of turn 1. Now already battling for positions, that's Duwill and VMark. Are they going to go side by side here? No, not in lap 1 up Eau Rouge. They know they are a little bit wiser than that here, but this is where we're going to start seeing some battles for position. You're already seeing Duwill and VMark going side by side. 2x2s here as we're approaching the next corner after the Camel Straight. Looks as though that's Andin trying to get a move done here in these stages onto Duwill, but Duwill defending fairly well, but you can see how close Andin is. We've got some lockups here going down the hill. Passassin and Josh 2 battling it out, and it is Passassin who goes up into third, or who keeps his third place, I believe, in the McLaren. And through all that, still keeping up with rotation, although a gap has started to form ever so slightly. But here comes Andin side by side with Duwill on the outside, turning towards the inside. What a drive from these drivers, but Duwill just getting a little bit better traction, holding on to that P8. Now, update from the back of the grid. Izat Kush and Chapelelli have gained a few positions up into 16th and 17th here as we are approaching Sector 3. Andin and Duwill once again. Oh, Duwill having a moment. A big crash from Duwill as he is out very early here as just completely lost the car going side by side with Andin. And that is here on lap 1, Duwill out of this race, and it has brought out the full caution safety car. So here we are at the end of lap 1, almost made it through a lap of incident-free, but Duwill having a big moment, and wowzers indeed on that crash, because that was a big one, and Duwill is definitely gonna feel that one, I think, tomorrow morning, if I'm being quite honest. But here we go, starting lap 2, not lap 3. We are under safety car for those who are just joining in after a crash around Blanchemont. Duwill and Andin going side by side. I don't think there was any wrongdoing from anyone. I think the move was done. Duwill, I believe, may have clipped a little bit of curb or grass. Just the car got unsettled, and you're going at such high speeds around that corner that once the car becomes unsettled, if you're not able to catch that right away, you end up becoming essentially a passenger, and you're just hoping for the best. And unfortunately for Duwill, the best did not happen. But here we are under safety car, and crucially, some of these drivers near the back of the grid, it's VMark, Jamie 1, Sophion, Eklund, and Carter, all took a pit stop here in this under the safety car. 4 out of these 5 have put on the hard tires, and Sophion has opted to put on the medium tires. So some early calls to take some pit stops from some of these drivers here, as some looking to modify their pit strategies. Going 20 laps on those hard tires can be a very tall order to ask, although you are under safety car for a few of them. But it's still going to be a very tall order. But if any driver can pull these off, it'll definitely be these Division 1 drivers. But crucially, now we're seeing a few other drivers take a pit stop, getting off of these soft tires. And some of the leaders at that are taking their pit stops, doing it 1 lap later. Might have already passed the pit entry by the time the safety car was called, because this was a battle that was a little bit further behind the grid there, as some separation was starting to develop. So this is turning the race a little bit on its head here in these early stages, as Passassin, your own Visser took a pit stop, Rotation took a pit stop, Feral Fury took a pit stop. So they're going to be coming out near the bottom of the order here, as on lap 3 it is now a familiar face of Sweet Crown 19 who is leading the way, who opted to stay out on those soft tires, and so did his teammate of Josh 2, who is leading the way behind him, or not leading the way behind him, but following right behind his teammate is Josh 2. So having the Williams in first and second could allow for a little bit of strategy play to come into effect, albeit it is something that, if done too bluntly, too obviously, the stewards will not like that one bit. But we can potentially see some strategies come into effect with the Williams going 1-2. But realistically, I do think Josh 2 might want to show that he can still be considered the #1 driver, or at least be on equal terms with Sweet Crown 19. Might try to make a push, a friendly little push on the restart, or at the very least have a little bit of discussion between the two teammates on the radio as to giving that coordination of this is where I plan on restarting, so they can both just get the jump they want and help tow each other around the track to try to secure those points for the Williams. But right behind, we've got the Racing Points that are looking to maybe do the same thing, keep up. So it's going to be a Williams versus Racing Point here for positions 1, 2, 3, and 4 as the safety car is coming in this lap, and we will be going back to green flag racing to start lap 4. All 19 drivers now lining up, getting the last little bit of heat on their tires, awaiting for Sweet Crown 19 to get the jump. Sweet Crown 19, it looked like from that angle he was going to go, but nope. Still warming up those tires, taking his sweet time, and realistically probably looking to go right after the bus stop chicane here, I would think. Because, of course, you are just going to be creating that bus stop with everybody oh so close together. But here we go. Back to green flag racing to start lap 4. Already we're seeing the likes of Ferg take a pit stop on this restart. So he's going to get off of his tires, and he took a speeding in the pit lane penalty, and he's retiring out of the session. So not too sure what happened to Ferg to force him to retire this early on, but really not happy with his race and taking that early start to next weekend. Now in 7th, here comes Chapelelli, putting pressure on to AJ Wuhan here, closing up, and we'll try to get a move done down the outside, having to rely on pure pace. Will the move get done? It looks as though he does get it to stick, and that is Chapelelli up into 6th place here. And we'll be trying to overtake VR46 next to go up into 5th. All these drivers on these similar strategies, except for Andin, Josh 2, and Sweet Crown 19, who have stayed out on their soft tires, but will need to take a pit stop sometime within the next few laps. But I think they might try to extend these tires a little bit more so they can put on a set of medium tires to go to the end a little bit more comfortably in this race. But we are here on lap 4. Chapelelli putting pressure on VR. Now, with no DRS in the first few laps under this restart, as mentioned, it will rely on pure pace. Now, thankfully, since this was early, lots of drivers, Chapelelli included, do have a lot of ERS to work with. As you can see how quickly he's closing up. Will he try the move? He's going to try to go the long way around the outside here of the first of 2. Gets that to stick, and as it turns into the inside line, does make the move onto VR, and that's Chapelelli already up into P5 here very early in this session as we have another yellow flag. What's happening here? As was that maybe Sophion having a little bit of a moment on the exit of the bus stop chicane, or maybe that was Carter having that moment, or maybe they both got caught up, but they were some positions were lost there with the yellow flags. But it is still Sweet Crown 19 leading the way, his teammate Josh 2 holding 4 down in 2nd, trying to keep the Racing Point of Andin behind. And then we do have a little bit of a gap between Andin and his teammate Nathan for P4, but Chapelelli in the Alfa Romeo hunting down these drivers, gaining ever so slightly, trying to close up on these gaps and work his way back up the grid order to get a solid haul of points between now and the end of the race. After having a race in Baku that, honestly, Chapelelli's race in Baku was one to forget, and I think he's looking to rectify that with a strong showing here at Belgium, and he is showing a lot of pace, and can be a little bit thankful that we had that early safety car with a lot of drivers taking those pit stops, which did promote him up so many positions. But of course, he is going to have to take a pit stop himself, but it can allow him to create a little bit of a gap. But on track, here comes Izat Kush. Thought about making a move on Jarno, but Jarno just defending, keeping that car right to the middle and not giving Izat Kush anywhere to go. Chapelelli sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, but I think Izat Kush is going to try to make another push here on VR. But meanwhile, Chapelelli also trying to catch up and get a move done on Nathan JB. So we've got these fast drivers already up to P5 and P7 after starting in the back of the grid. Are we going to see these overtakes done here in this lap? You can see the battling. Here comes Izat Kush. Looks like he does get the move done with the help of DRS. And that is Chapelelli, who goes up into 4th immediately after overtaking Nathan JB, who falls down into 5th and going to be trying to keep up and fight right back for that position. But Chapelelli is a very fast driver, but we'll have to see if Nathan does have the pace in order to get the move done and get that position right back from the Alfa Romeo. But crucially, through all of this battling that we're seeing in this, I guess, the higher midfield, they haven't necessarily allowed much of a gap to be built between the likes of Sweet Crown Josh and Andin, who's been following suit. And you saw that there. Chapelelli is still very close, only right around a second behind Andin. And once he catches up to Andin, it's going to be a nice little 4-car battle for the podium. And crucially, Sweet Crown 19 has taken a pit stop here in this early stage, or not a pit stop, a penalty, I should say. Already up to 3 seconds of penalties for Sweet Crown 19 here on lap 6. So gonna have to watch out with those track limits, or that might risk falling down the order before the race is over. Now, rotation, putting pressure on VMark here. VMark's shown a lot of pace in qualifying, down in 12th, rotation in 13th. Excuse me. And we'll see how this will all play out. I think rotation should have DRS as they're coming up Eau Rouge now, and we'll see once they get into the Kemmel Straight if a move is going to happen. But firstly, VR's now starting to fall down a few more positions as AJ Wuhan makes a move going up into 7th. VR trying to stick with it. Passassin gets an overtake done on the, on Knight. But who is that? Oh no! That's Nathan JB in the wall. It looks as though he's still in this race, trying to get back on track. But it's a very dangerous spot to do it, as, oh my goodness, Jamie 1 almost gets caught up into an incident with Nathan JB. As you saw that there, the car did ghost. But if you're Nathan, you're taking avoiding action, so it's not the line he was ideally hoping to take through that corner. But he kept it safe, kept it out of the wall, and did at least gain a position out of it. But that was a little close for comfort if you're Jamie, excuse me. And Nathan gets overtaken by Carter, and that might be a pit stop for Nathan JB, as he might need to take a wing change, and at the very least change those tires, because they're probably not too happy with them after getting all of that grass. Now let's take a look here. Does he have... No, he doesn't have any wing damage, so just went way deep. But speaking of pit stops, Sweet Crown 19 taking a pit stop from the lead of this race. What tires is he going to put on? Is he going to put on the mediums, or is he going to put on the hards? We'll keep an eye out on that, as he's really falling down the order with nobody really giving room to anybody. All these drivers staying oh so close, and it is the medium tires for Sweet Crown 19, as he is coming out on track in 17th position, only behind Nathan, who's, funny enough, interestingly enough, getting a move done and overtakes Sweet Crown going up Eau Rouge. That's a little bit of a funky move. Nathan putting a lot of pressure there. But here comes Sweet Crown 19 right back, trying to get this overtake done. But Nathan did have DRS, it looks like. Sweet Crown going around the outside, but just unable to get the traction on those fresher tires. Needs to get the temperature in them, but not still battling it out. Big lockup down the hill here, but does get the traction he needs finally to get that move done and go up into 17th as he's trying to work his way back up the field after taking his pit stop. Now, Schiaparelli up into 3rd. I'm hearing a voice. Is anybody here in the commentator's booth with me?
It's a Sunik. I was just wondering when you get a chance, you catch your breath, send me an invite and I'll join you in the booth here.
For sure. Sounds like a plan. I'll try to get that sent off very, very quickly as I think we've got a little break in the action. Alright, very quickly got that sent off. We are back and just in time. Schiaparelli up into 2nd as Andon's taking his pit stop, and Josh too as well taking that pit stop. So after starting from the back of the grid, it is Schiaparelli and Izat Kush in positions 1 and 2. Thanks to what I can only assume is a little bit in part to the early safety car, in part due to being the fastest drivers on those medium tires, having yet to take a pit stop, whilst everybody else has taken at least one pit stop so far this race. But on track, here comes rotation, looking to go around the outside of your own Vasseur. We've got such a wonderful view here, going side by side, and it looks as though rotation does get the move to stick right before the corner to go up into 7th. So he's putting those hard tires to work here on lap 9. Jamie 1 and Sophion battling it out. Right as I switch over, I saw a little bit of end plate fly off the car, and I think that was Sophion's end plate of the wing, so he's feeling the that loss of traction. And oh no, it looked like there might have been some contact potentially between it looked as though Jamie 1 and I thought that was Jamie 1 and Carter that got into a little bit of contact, but it's really just Jamie who's struggling the most out of all of that after that battle. But I didn't see any wing damage from that car either. So
Sophion's got a bit of wing damage. They were both off coming down that downhill U, as you like to call it. They just both trying to get out of the way, and Sweet Crown, Carter, Nathan JB, and then just all laid up those positions and moved right up the order.
Yeah, and I gotta feel maybe Jamie 1 was not feeling great about the contact. Maybe slowing down a little bit, just to I don't know if he was looking to maybe give that position back or whatnot, because it seemed as though Jamie 1 did go very deep, but even getting back on the line was very slow to do so. But equally could have been the angle that we had here, as some of these angles really do like to play mind games on me, if I'm being honest. But back to the action in this battle. We've got Assassin looking to overtake Jarno, getting the move done before DRS, and that's a little bit crucial as both drivers get DRS on each other, and AJ, who's just a little bit ahead, and it is Passassin who gets the move done on VR to go up into 4th. And now Passassin has his teammate ahead of him, with so we can maybe focus on trying to keep the driver of Jarno behind until such a time where it's safe to either get the overtake done on your teammate or maybe push for a battle, depending on what the team radio is looking like here in the McLaren garage. I know Passassin probably wants to get that overtake done. He wants to be the lead car. He wants that podium as well for himself. But we'll see how this all plays out. Now, what happened to... I see Feral Fury...
That was V-Mark.
Yeah, overtaking V-Mark, but looked as though Feral Fury got way ahead of V-Mark, so I'm not too sure if maybe there was some... eclipsed some curb, lost a little bit of speed, did V-Mark somewhere along the way, which really opened the door for Feral Fury to get the overtake done and promote himself up into 10th position.
Yeah, I believe he just got a little bit wide, ran up on the grass, which turned into a little bit of gravel, but he's kept it straight and he's moved on. Just lost the one position. He's just got Josh and Sweet Crown breathing down his neck, so he's going to have to get a move on here.
Yep, and with the fresher tires of Josh 2 and Sweet Crown, it's going to be a tall order to ask to keep these drivers behind. Already Josh going for a move down the inside of turn 1. V-Mark sticking with them, but Josh 2 just gets the better line, gets the better exit, and does get the position. But I think now V-Mark is going to have some DRS to play with, as the McLarens further up the track did switch positions themselves. But here comes Sweet Crown 19 as he's trying to close up as quick as he can. But V-Mark just sticking with Josh 2, sticking right behind. But
what a move.
Oh my goodness, Sweet Crown seeing that happen. Oh, but there's contact. V-Mark saves the car. Very crucially saves it from what could have been. But Sweet Crown 19 getting the move done and really shutting the door on V-Mark to take that P12.
Yeah, and while we were talking and we were focusing on that battle, we have a switch for the lead as Chapelele has gotten by Izzat.
Oh, so they switched again, because I know last I checked it was Chapelele leading. I guess maybe with the DRS, both these drivers are just switching positions. They're running similar strategies, and I'll be honest, it wouldn't be crazy to assume that they might be trying to help each other a little bit to keep this a two-driver fight between now and the end of the race. So that way, if they switch positions, they can each get DRS on each other, grow that gap between themselves and Passassin, who's did overtake AJ to go up into third, and make them lose that many less positions when they do need to take that pit stop off the medium tires. But your own Vasseur getting alongside of Knight, and your own Vasseur is in 7th, Knight in 8th, but I think Knight is trying to get these moves done, just unable to get it to stick. As you can see, the exit your own Vasseur had out of that corner, but now with the help of DRS, here comes the Red Bull. Will he close up enough ground to get an overtake done? It doesn't look like he's going to be able to. He's getting close, but not close enough. But here comes Josh 2 making a move, going side by side with Feral Fury. He's a tough customer to get the overtake done. They touch wheels a little bit, and Josh 2 nearly losing the car on that battle with Feral Fury, as I think the contact might have had something to do with that. But it is still Feral Fury in 10th, Josh 2 in 11th, getting recomposed and going to try to come right back on the Haas driver to get that move done, with of course Sweet Crown 19 lurking in the background.
Josh, you gotta say Josh is very solid around Spa. He's a former winner here, one of his only wins so far in ISRL, but he did solidify his position in first place in Season 1 after fighting with the likes of Sweet Crown and everybody. So now that they're teamed up, we'll see how it goes. Sweet Crown does have a penalty, though, so Josh would essentially be the lead Williams here, which we're not normally used to seeing, obviously, with Sweet Crown's dominance over the past 4 seasons. So we'll see how this shapes out.
Oh, yes, we will. Now, here comes Josh 2, once again trying to get a move done on Feral Fury. Through all of that, Chapelele takes a pit stop from the lead of this race, and putting on these soft tires to try to take him 9 laps to the end of the race. So that is a very bold strategy call from Chapelele. I'll be honest, I don't know if those soft tires can go 9 laps without absolutely falling off a cliff, but I think Chapelele trusts the strategy, feeling confident, maybe hoping for a safety car between now and the end of the race, given all of the battles that we're seeing, maybe he's hearing about, hoping that something happens, give himself a free pit stop, or at the very least, with how close the grid is, hoping he can close up some of these gaps and get a lot of overtakes done before those soft tires truly fall off.
And this is played perfectly into Passassin's hand. He's sitting there in P2 right now, 5 seconds back from Izzat, and as we know, Izzat is yet to take a pit stop, and Passassin's already pit. He should be able to take this all the way to the end on those hards, so he's looking at a net P1 right now once we all cycle through, so that's really solid for the McLarens right there. They're looking at a 1-2 as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, they really pulled off the good strategy call, at least here for the moment. But I'm going to have to put a pause on this, as we've got a battle. Sweet Crown 19 overtook Josh 2 and got a move done on Feral Fury, but that opened the door as they were going side by side for a few corners, lined up Josh 2 to just follow right in the wheel tracks of his teammate and get the double overtake done. So Feral Fury, just like that, loses out on 2 positions, falling down into 11th. And there we go. Passassin taking the lead of the race. Izat Kush pitting from the lead on lap 14. 1 lap later, and he's putting on those soft tires. Going to try to go to the end, similar to what we're seeing Chapelelli do. And crucially, Chapelelli's gained a decent amount of ground as now he's battling it out and overtakes Feral Fury, who's kind of being, I don't want to say bullied, but just being overtaken left, right, center, and I think you saw something there?
Yeah, it's a little bit of the rear end of that Haas of Feral Fury stepped out a little bit going up Radion, and you just... the anticipation, but he was able to collect it and keep it.
Oh
right
no! And right as you were saying that, Andon and Izat Kush. Oh my goodness! Andon and Izat Kush are going side by side. We got the worst possible camera angle on what happened, showing the inside of Andon's car, who was on the inside. Andon took a spin. And right as I switched over to Izat Kush, he was right there with them. He was back on track, but there might have been a little bit of contact between the AlphaTauri and the Racing Point car, and that's definitely going to hinder Izat Kush as he just put on that set of soft tires, and that's already a decent amount of time lost getting caught up in that, possibly, I should say, getting caught up in that incident, as I was half expecting him to just completely fly by Andon after that spin, but that just wasn't the case.
Luckily for him, no damage on the AlphaTauri, and neither for the Racing Point as well of Andon. Came away with it cleanly, able to keep it out of the wall, so they can put their heads down and keep pushing.
Yep, and that's, that's what Izat is going to have to do, and I figured that was the plan right from the get-go either way, with those soft tires, as he goes and makes a move on V-Mark, the outside turning into the inside on the bus stop chicane, and with those soft tires does get the overtake done to go up into 12th, but now has a 4-second, or nearly a 5-second gap to try to close up the Feral Fury before Izat Kush can maybe see another driver to overtake, while also needing to keep an eye out on V-Mark, who's right there behind. Eklund overtaking your own Visser to go up into 5th, so Eklund having a decent drive here so far, putting his Renault into a top 5, but your own Visser having a good drive as well, all things considered, in 6th, but he's got Sweet Crown 19 right behind him, and Sweet Crown 19 itching to get that overtake done. Chapelelli is right there with both of these drivers of Sweet Crown and Josh too. So crucially, their strategies have met up the Williams and the Alfa Romeo. But we'll see who's going to come out ahead. Will it be Chapelelli on the softs, or will it be Sweet Crown 19 who's on the slightly more worn medium tires, as they're both most likely definitely going to be going to the end of the race? But I do have to hand it to Passassin, taking the lead of this race and not really looking back. Has his teammate there for extra support of AJ Wuhan, who, to be quite frank, he's running a very solid race himself. Good job keeping...
Pit.
Yeah. But let's see, rotation actually overtaking Jarno, as Jarno taking a pit stop as he was going a little bit longer, probably going to be putting on those soft tires as well to go to the end of the race. So a few different strategy calls from these drivers, some doing those soft to hards to soft, but some looking at the soft to mediums.
Oh no, that's Sophion.
Uh-oh.
Yes, Sophion.
Sophion having a moment there on the right at the end of Sector 2, I think, clipping that curb, and we have a full caution safety car. Oh no! Or oh yes, depending on who you are on circuit, as I think it was,
no.
yeah, you can see that there. There is no front wing on that AlphaTauri, so I do think it is a safety car for Debris, but this is going to turn its race on its head, as AJ is essentially going to get to take a free pit stop. But now, if you're Passassin or anybody here in the top 5, do you maybe take a pit stop to put on the softs to the end, seeing the amount of laps, or do you hold on to that track position,
This
knowing?
is tough.
it's a tough call here because the softs can go to the end, but
Well,
when you're looking at the
here's
top... Sorry, go on ahead, please. I was just going to say...
no, because if... Ah, shoot, I did it again, sorry. Well, if you're Assassin, do you want to pit to come off the hards? Which you might want to do since it is a safety car, but at the same time, your teammate who is yet to make his stop crucially is going to have to pit here, no matter what. So, it might... If Assassin decides he's got to pit off those hards, he may screw over his teammate.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's a good point that you're bringing up. And, I mean, the other thing, too, is that track position is, I mean, it's important in every race. It is important here in Spa, given the, oh, Assassin is taking a pit stop. Oh, and AJ is following right behind. So this is, yeah, he has no choice. But a little bit of potential miscommunication. Rotation followed suit into the pits as well. So it is sort of what I was expecting, that all of the top 5 essentially decided they were going to pit to put on these soft tires and make a push to the end. Now it looks as though we're seeing a lot of drivers taking that decision to pit.
No.
So they're not going to.
Wuhan's lost so many positions due to that call.
Yeah, that's I mean, down into 12th now and potentially going to be falling. Could have been much worse if it wasn't for some of the other people on the grid to take their pit stops themselves. But losing out 10 positions even with a free pit stop, and knowing full well that Assassin was able to come out just in 6th position. That's not it's not some AJ's probably not all that happy with the way that planned out. But I'm looking at here, we've got a battle on our hands once the safety car does come in. It's Sweet Crown 19 who's going to be leading the way after qualifying on pole, so I guess that was to be expected. His teammate Josh 2 in 2nd, so a little bit of deja vu with the Williams 1 and 2 under the safety car. But look who's lurking in 3rd after serving his qualifying ban and starting last on the grid. None other than the points leader in the Drivers' Championship, Schiaparelli, on what is only 3-lap-old soft tires, and really probably conserving these tires. So he should be able to push to the end of the race once the safety car does come in. Feral Fury, he's committing to that strategy with the hard tires. He didn't take a pit stop, and I think he's going to try to go to the end with what he's got. And he's going to
get swallowed up here.
Yeah, and it's sort of what I was thinking about when that safety car first came out, that if you stayed out, the likes of which, let's say, Feral Fury, I mean, if Assassin stayed out on his hard tires, he would have had track position, but I think that was the worry, that with all of these very quick drivers being right up next to you on the quicker tires, that would mean bad news for you on those much older and slower tires if he did stay out. So this might be what we're going to see happen to Feral Fury under this restart, especially with the hard tires that are a lot harder to keep to put into optimal temperature range, especially under safety car when you're going a lot slower than what you're used to around this circuit.
Yeah, but I mean, you got Schiaparelli, Izzat, and Assassin sitting there. It gets to a point, like, you want to say track position is key, as always, in Formula 1, but for Feral Fury, I don't think track position, as opposed to 14-lap-old hards, when you're completely surrounded by fresher, softer compound tires. Look, it's got to get pretty bad for Feral Fury before it gets worse. I mean, yeah, before it gets better. Also, with Carter, too, right up there in 7th with 15-lap-old hards. And everybody essentially behind Carter, all the way down to Sophion in 18th. Fresh softs, with the exception of Anden on the 8-lap-old mediums. But that's a pretty good recovery for Anden. We saw him have trouble there with Izzat not too long ago. And the two of them are up in 5th and 9th, respectively. So, good recovery. Lucky safety car, if you would say, so... We'll see how they can move on towards the end of this race. Not many laps left.
Well, that's the thing, and that's sort of the other thing I was thinking. Well, just as you were mentioning your point with the tires, and we were bringing that up. This is another thing I need to consider, that they will have the softer tires, but crucially, they won't have any DRS to work with until, let's say, I don't know, lap 20, lap 21, depending on when the marshals decide they want to reactivate it after the safety car does come in. So it is going to rely on pure pace. Not to say that the soft tires and the hard tires are going to be running at the same pace. We know the soft tires will have a little bit more oomph in their step, so to say, on this restart. But at least if Feral Fury was able to manage his fuel, manage his DRS, which he does have basically a full tank, like what most of the drivers do at this point, he can use up a lot of that and just try to encourage some of these drivers on those softer tires to maybe battle amongst themselves and incur a little bit of tire wear while he just does a little bit of a defending job. Maybe similar to what we saw Sweet Crown 19 do just 1 week ago on that safety car in Baku. But safety car is coming in this lap, so we will be going back to green flag racing to start lap 19 with Sweet Crown 19 leading the way as the de facto safety car. When will he go? We will find out in just a few moments once the safety car takes that pit entrance. If it's anything like last time, probably right around the bus stop chicane, I would think, once he can get that exit traction and not to create a big pile up into the bus stop. But here we go. And there we go. We see the restart, and Sweet Crown 19 getting a good restart. Josh, too, not getting one to remember, if I'm being all that honest. But closing up. Oh my goodness, look at this. Between Izat, Farrell, and Rotation. And are we going to see maybe some battling here? No, I think Farrell, as mentioned, is kind of getting eaten up right from the get-go. Already seeing losing out on 2 positions. But here comes Izat Kush on Assassin. Who was that? Farrell?
Izat has a front right end plate missing on that AlphaTauri.
Oh my, yes. Now that you mention it, I didn't even notice that. So maybe I don't know if he ever bothered repairing that wing after the previous contact. Maybe just took it under the safety car. I'm not sure. But we're going to continue on here, I guess. Either way, just we'll see how that plays out for Izat Kush as he's battling it out with Passassin. Rotation now overtook Feral Fury, and now right up alongside, or right up behind Izat Kush, I should say. So Rotation's going to try to get a move done on those fresh soft tires. Now further down the order, we've got a whole gaggle of cars here being led by Feral Fury and Carter, but you have Andon here, VR46 Yarno right next. Andon thought about making a move. They're oh so close to one another. You could throw a blanket on these 4 cars, but are we going to see this overtake? Oh, this is going to get sketchy for Andon. Keeps the car under control, crucially, because that was very similar to what we saw Will do. Rotation overtaking Izat Kush. Chapalelli and Josh 2 battling it out. What sights we're seeing here along the bus stop. We've got 2x2 through the entirety of the midfield, and we've got 3 wide here between AJ, Yaron Vasseur, and Knight. Yaron Vasseur lunging down the inside. AJ kind of getting the short end of the stick there, but still staying with this battle. But it's Yaron Vasseur from Knight, from AJ in that order as they come up Eau Rouge to start lap 20. And we're going to see some overtakes here as here comes the VR going down the outside of Carter. And with those hard tires, Carter's a little bit of a sitting duck. And now he's got the armada behind him of Eklund, Yaron Vasseur, Knight, all of these drivers battling it out amongst themselves on those fresh set of soft tires to get the final few points here of the race. My, this is going to be interesting to see. I think Eklund's going to try a move around on Carter, but Carter just doing a good job holding position, keeping his line, and not allowing Eklund to, not keeping that door open for too long to let these drivers go through. So Carter doing a very good drive, driving a bit of a defensive clinic. But I'm going to jump back to this battle. We have Passassin putting a little bit of pressure on Josh too here, but equally, here comes Chapalelli on Sweet Crown 19. This is the battle we want to see. This is the battle we've been hoping to see. P1, P2, the two powerhouses of the Division 1 championship so far. There's a little bit of contact. Passassin and Josh 2 battling it out right further behind, but it is still Josh 2 who holds on to that position. But here comes Passassin around the inside. Will he get the move done on turn 1? No, he won't get it done. Slots behind Josh 2, but I think Passassin, maybe this was a tactical move on his end, as he's maybe hoping to get some DRS and get the overtake done. Speaking of DRS, if it is open, yes it is. Here comes Chapelelli, gonna try going down the outside here on the penultimate lap. Sweet Crown defending. They're still side by side here through this corner section. It's Sweet Crown still leading the way, albeit only just on Chapelelli. Now, I gotta take a look here. Chapelelli has 6 seconds of penalties. Sweet Crown has 3 seconds. So even
Assassin
if the
has none.
So Passassin putting himself in a very solid position if he can just keep it clean to maybe snag a victory if this battle continues to happen between these two drivers. So my oh my, this safety car did turn the race all over its head, but we've got basically what seems to be a 5-car battle now for, I guess, a 5-car battle for the podium, and crucially, Josh, too, has put himself into a solid position. So it's looking like right now, the order could potentially be the McLaren, the second Williams, and the first Williams in that order.
Rotation and Josh side by side through Blanchimont, and
yep, and here comes Andon and Feral Fury.
This is all going to come down to the last lap.
Yep, and oh my goodness, what a big kerfuffle of cars. Andon getting the short end of the stick there once again as he's falling down the order. Had to ghost into some cars. Rotation and Josh 2 are battling it out here as we're starting the final lap. Everybody, there's battles everywhere on track here as Eklund overtaking your own Visser to go up into 10th. But your own Visser keeping pressure. But I gotta keep an eye out on this battle. It is the 3 to 5 car battle for the podium here. Here comes Chapelelli around the outside. Does get the move to stick, but not necessarily. There we go. And it is going to be first, but here comes Passassin now. Going to try a lunge down the inside. Sweet Crown 19 locks up. Assassin's right there as they're going side by side. Here, around the no-name corner, it is Sweet Crown who's still holding on to that second, but Passassin trying to get the move done on circuit. He wants that. He wants to get that overtake done on track, and you can see the fire in his eyes in that McLaren car as they've got about a sector and a bit to go here. It's Chapelelli leading on track. But I think that might be the most of what it's going to be here once the penalties are all said and done. But still, we've got this gaggle of cars battling it out a little bit further behind that I want to keep an eye out here. Just duking it out for the last few point-paying positions to get points for their drivers' standings. Yeah, that's the thing. He's that holding off. AJ overtaking Knight now as they're going side by side through what is the corner. Nathan trying to make a lunge here. Are we going to see the move? Your own Visser on Eklund going side by side. Oh no, that was VR taking a spin around the final corner. He's not going to be happy as everybody crosses the line. The order's just getting all mixed up. Look at that sight there. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 basically as they cross the line.
Like Talladega.
My goodness, I couldn't have said it better myself. What a sight to behold there for the end of the race. And honestly, I'm just going to have to take us through the order once we get the timing tables. Chapelelli getting driver of the day as voted by the fans in Spa after taking that car from the back of the grid up to first on track. But I think depending on where those gaps ended up, no, that's Chapelelli out of the podium due to those 6 seconds of time penalties. And look at that, it's Passassin. It's the American on the top step of the podium here at Spa. Yep, Asunik, you're loving that. And Passassin's got to be extremely happy with that result to take the victory. And the two Williams drivers of Sweet Crown 19 and Josh 2 sharing P2 and P3. Which one's which? I don't know. They both look identical. But there we have it. It is Passassin who takes the victory. Josh 2 in second, Sweet Crown 19 in third, and it is Rotation who takes P4, with Chapelelli falling down to fifth after that. After those penalties, Izat Kush in sixth, Andon came in seventh, Eklund came in eighth, AJ Wuhan in ninth, Feral Fury rounding out the top 10, your own Visser in 11th, Nathan JB in 12th, Sophion in 13th, Jamie 1 in 14th, V-Mark in 15th, Knight only in 16th after that, Carter in 17th, VR46 Yarno in 18th, with Ferg and Do-Will in 19th and 20th after not finishing this race here. But oh my goodness, I gotta take my breath, because that was crazy scenes.
Glad I rushed back from the store, saw that you were doing it alone, and I was like, I gotta get in there. But oh my god, I'm glad I did. What an amazing finish. I mean, we had, what did we have last week with Knight and Andon at the line? Like, look at this, looked like your classic Daytona 500 at the line with these guys all from Izat back. There was a kerfuffle there in the last corner, and everybody's just crossing the line. Like, the gaps, barring penalties, like we've mentioned throughout the entirety of today, those penalties, once the race finishes, are gonna cause an issue, because some people don't. Some people take less penalties than others, and they were so close crossing the line. That leaderboard was just going.
It was just going bananas at the end there, and I mean, I'll be honest, the hypothetical scenario I've been pitching through the entirety of the day here in the comms booth came to fruition in Division 1 as the very late safety car bunched up the grid, and back on those penalties, as we saw with Chapelelli, with that late safety car, that's where those penalties can really bite you in the butt, and it did there for Chap, as he did cross the line, I believe, in first, but fell down to fifth after the timing was all sorted out at the end of that. But I think probably is now a good time as ever to jump into the post-race interviews.
Yeah, but I'm trying my PlayStation, just doing, the classic names are showing up very slow. Some people are offline.
There we go. This is what I'm looking for. I could not find the showroom to save my life there, but here we go. Let's put up, for now, the McLaren, the victory car here up on the screen for everybody to see. But oh my goodness, that was a crazy race, and everybody watching at home, the chat got a little bit quiet near the end, but here we go. Jordan, crazy ending, what a race. One wing, crazy finish. I have to agree with you, and then some. Now this is, I mean, everything I expected from the Division 1 race, and then some. But let me know once we've got...
we got your race winner, Assassin, in the party.
Perfect. So Passassin, can you hear us all right? Let us know when. All right, I think you can hear us. So victory for yourself in the McLaren. Take us through. What are your thoughts after that crazy race and that crazy finish?
I don't even know, man. Oh my god. It's a surprise, because I didn't expect to even get close to P1 in the start of this race. I got fortunate with some safety cars and good strategy calls, and I just tried pushing my way the entire race, and I mean, yeah, I'm sweating badly right now. It's oh, I can feel the heat.
Now, did you know towards the end of that race, the penalty situation, I saw you try to make a move on Sweet Crown, because it seemed like you just really wanted to do it on track just to make a point, but, I mean, did you know that you pretty much, if you just stayed with them, you had your chance at the top step, or was that you just wanted to do it on track?
I mean, I really could care less about on track. As long as I do it in the penalty range, I don't care about doing it on track. Of course, it makes you feel better, but I didn't need to do any of that. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna go make a move on Sweet Crown. I was like, I don't want to do a risk. So I just tried making it as clean as possible. If I was just gonna do some action. Side to side.
That was a great race to watch. The guys behind you, everybody was double file across the line. Josh and Sweet Crown battling back and forth. We knew that Josh has had pace here before as well. This leads us into our next podium taker, Josh. Solid results for you here at Belgium consistently. You're a former winner here, and then you take P2 over your teammate that everybody says has all the accolades, but you showed that you can get the results as well. So congrats to you. Take us through that.
Thank you. First of all, I messed up Q3. Still got a decent lap. Started in P4. Was not happy about that. Then the start. With usual, nothing special. And the first safety car was a bit of a surprise. We didn't know, or I didn't know what I should do, so we stayed out. Thought it was a good strategy call. It wasn't. And then luckily the second safety car saved us, more or less. But I think there was a bit more in it than a 2-3, I guess. And still a good race, good racing, and nothing to add, I guess.
Eric, you got anything?
No, I think honestly that just about covers it. I just wanted to ask a little bit about that last safety car, but Josh, I think you kind of covered that a little bit in terms of if my always that question I love to bring up of if that last little safety car modified the strategy, but I'll take it based on your answer. Given from what you mentioned, it did modify that strategy for the better, because you seem to indicate you weren't happy with that choice to stay out. Was it just the tire wear that was coming near the end of its life before that, or were you just not happy with just the way the strategy played out compared to everybody else on track?
I don't know what exactly you mean. If you mean why I stayed out, it was all about
just because you mentioned it wasn't the ideal strategy. Was it just the way the race? Was it not the ideal strategy? Just the way the race played out compared to everybody else?
No, it was not really about. We shouldn't stayed out at the first safety car. That was the biggest problem, because they could build a good gap after we pitted, and there was no chance with the second safety car that we could recover from that. That was kind of a problem.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask you something. Speaking of the second safety car, Passassin, your teammate was right behind you. We already stopped. You knew he had to pit. Was there any communication with you and Nathan about, you knew it was, if you pit, you were going to absolutely double stack? I mean, it worked out for you in the end, seeing how you're on the top set, but your teammate was down in the thick of it towards the end of that race. Would you guys talk about that, or was that just kind of, you just said, screw it, these hards kind of suck, so you just had to get off them, and you just said, you know what, no hard feelings there, AJ, but I'm going for a win here today?
Yeah, I mean, kind of that, but there was also we weren't in the same party, so there wasn't really much communication. I'm sure he knew. He said he was trying to form a gap to prevent the double stack, but one more thing, on the last lap, I got my second warning near the end of it, so I was like, oh, hell no, and I just kept it within the track limits comfortably.
Yeah, you'll get it. Well, congrats to you guys. I think that's the only Sweet Crown's Notorious he never. Has he ever done an interview?
Not that I can ever recall. Maybe he's done one way back in season 1 or something, but I really cannot recall ever having Sweet Crown 19 jump into the post-race interviews. But to both of you, congratulations on your result. But that is going to do it here for the stream here in Division 1. And my, oh my, what a race that was. Now, if you're upset because we're near the end, it's quite alright. No reason to be too upset, because we'll be back here same time, same place next week as we take on the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, and that is one to definitely get excited about. But of course, thank you to our sponsors, IMB Racewear, Jackson Protection Agency, and the IFEA. We could not do this without your support, and of course, to everybody watching at home. We do it for you guys, and we are so thankful for all the support you all give us, watching the streams, liking the social media posts, and all that jazz. But until next week, I have been Fallen Monkeys, taking over for Ix, and on behalf of myself, Ix Asunik, and everybody here at ISRL Esports, thank you for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic evening.